Hello, good to see you again. You can catch me here and also on YouTube, and you can catch me on Facebook also. And also, guess what? Instagram. So these are coming together. Traveling. We know that California is a huge state, somewhere around 800 miles long, with a 600-mile long valley in the middle of it, and 250, 300, 400 miles wide. Whatever it is you have to drive there state. Nobody found in this nation would have thought that they should be licensing and permitting wagons and horses to be using the roads that the people built. It has never quite sat right with me that private travel is a privilege. We have a right to buy machines, whichever you prefer, and we have a right to drive them, ride in them, ride on them. But somewhere along the line, bureaucrats got in mind that we should be having our Bill of Rights disregarded to a point. Actually, if you look through the Bill of Rights, you can see a lot of disregard of the Bill of Rights. But this one we're talking about getting around. It's never sat right with me that driving is a privilege. Maybe it does with you, maybe it doesn't. Some yes, some no. We all have different opinions on that. One of two different opinions. Either it is or it isn't. Well, for certain, I think that it is a privilege for commercial operations to be on the road because those are businesses using what we've paid for to make profits, which generate taxes and so forth. So it's a trade-off. Therefore, commercial operations such as trucking, buses, which are coaches, limousines, taxis, those are commercial operations, for example. And those, for them, it is a privilege while they're doing that. But if they're using their truck just to get home from where they work, not necessarily, that's just using that machine to go home from work. So those should be regulated, and those drivers should be vetted and so forth, just as they do now, but much better, and I'll get to that in a bit. But for private travel, I would propose we move to a certificate, a driver certificate, instead of a driver license, because licensing is for the privileged. A certificate means you have passed a skills test, written test, demonstrations, and so forth, interview, and you know what you're doing. That can be done currently it's done by DMV. There's no reason that cannot be done privately. So for private travel of whatever machine you pick, which is pickup truck, van, SUV, car, motorcycle, tricycle, whatever you want, for all of those, if you're just going to use it privately to get around, I would move towards a driver's certificate, going through much the same as what DMV currently does, but not having it be a license and not having it regarded as a privilege. Now, where did I come up with that? What kind of crazy talk is that? Well, here it is. All those people that you ride with in an airliner, for those of you who have been in an airplane, they don't have pilot licenses. They have airman certificates. The only licenses that exist for piloting are private, such as a carrier will issue their employees who pilot a pilot license if they want to. No requirement for them to do that. They just get reviewed and recertified every 6 months or so. And guess what? That's all done privately in competitive commerce, and that is where the best operators are. They're up there in the sky with certificates that are vouched for privately in competition. All of these wrecks you see on the road, cars, trucks, and whatnot, all of those wrecks are people who have been told it's a privilege. They are licensed, and that's who gets in the most wrecks, and that's who commits the most traffic violations. And you know who drives the best? Somebody with an expired license, because they don't want to get stopped. So anybody driving the speed limit or 1 mile an hour less with an expired license, they're going to be driving with their hands at 10 and 2 in the slow lane and sitting up straight. So what I'm saying is we can get a certificate like the pilots, but different. And they do not expire. Neither do the pilots. The driver's certificate for private travel will not expire. You might have a written test sent to you online. You might have to go into a private entity to demonstrate basic driving skills, take written tests, watch safety presentations, and so forth. But that's a big change away from the way we're doing things. However, for commercial, not going to be much change away except for the better. So does this guy know what he's talking about? Yes, I do. I have taught 370 people to drive. I taught 365 Class A drivers with all endorsements, including hazardous materials. I have taught 2 people Class B, which means commercial but no trailer, such as garbage truck, coach, dump truck. And I have taught 3 people Class C, which is cars, like most of you. So yes, I know what I'm doing. I have spent about 10 years waiting in line at DMV. And I found that I had to teach people 2 ways of doing things. The DMV way, so they could get past DMV and get them out of their hair and behind them. And then the real way to drive. So what I propose is driver training becomes a lot more comprehensive. It's not just hands at 10 and 2, and how do you signal with your hand if your directional signal fails? When can you signal with your hand if your directional signal fails? Can you signal with your hand if the directional signals are working fine? Okay, that's hardly ever done. Have you ever seen that done? Well, I have, but not very often. That's because I've spent 20 years on the road commercially, 10 years driving trucks, and 10 years teaching other people to drive trucks, and in fact owned and operated and directed my own truck driving school, which in my opinion was the best one in the whole state without question, and maybe the best one in the entire union. But I might be a little bit biased on that. However, I still stand by that claim. So something we're going to do is study whether we can certify drivers and then have them only take a refresher course instead of a relicensing, and if we can do it privately. And whether we can change away from thinking something is a privilege into thinking we have a right to travel so long as we're certificated. And if we can do that without an increase in traffic problems, which we can, we're going to do it if we can get the votes. That's why you have to put other people in office like me with the same mindset. So please start also thinking about, besides voting for Braveheart for governor, to mega, please also be thinking about the representatives who are going to work with me, not against me, to make our Golden State come back, make things better. And in that case, we could change things for the better. There is no other way. Okay? So thank you. Go check out those YouTubes and Instagram, Facebook, so forth also, besides our website. Thanks a lot.